wherever you are. This is a Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by your favorite insurance agent, Marilyn Hildred, your Allstate insurance agent. If it's insurance that you want, and you can't help but want it because you've got to have it under the Oklahoma laws, call Marilyn. The telephone number is 755-7252. Now, Marilyn will take care of all of your insurance needs. You say you aren't sure? You don't have to worry about it. Just call Marilyn. That telephone number is 755-7252. The Freedom Fiesta Week will start on August the 13th through the 19th, 1990. And now Shelley is going to help me as we go through each one of these exciting days. It's Freedom Fiesta Week time in Oklahoma City. And now we're going to talk about it. Come one, come all, and support the Freedom Fiesta Week. What's happening on Monday, Shelley?
Monday is Cecil L. Williams Day with Leola Ford, Cheryl Fowler, and Lillian Rhodes. And at the Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King, there will be a hot dog festival from 6 to 8 p.m.
How many of you out there in Radio Land remember Cecil Williams? To many, he was known as a black businessman. To others, he was known as a friend, a relative. Cecil did everything that he could to promote the great cause of freedom. I remember him in Selma, Alabama. I remember him as he sat up all night at Bishop's Restaurant. And for those of you today that are enjoying the privileges that Cecil made possible, I know you will support his day. And incidentally, that is a day that Cecil Williams worked hard in voters' registration. The Cecil L. Williams Day again with who, Marilyn? Shelley. I like to call on all of them because if you call on one, don't call on all of them. And even though Calvin and Marilyn aren't here, I'll have to depend solely on Shelley.
That's Cecil L. Williams Day with Leola Ford, Cheryl Fowler, and Lillian Rhodes.
And what will happen on that day once again?
There will be a hot dog festival at the Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King.
What do you do at a hot dog festival?
You eat hot dogs.
Okay, well, I'll see you at the hot dog festival. What is Tuesday?
Tuesday is Everybody's Night, and it will be held at the Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King.
Now, all of you that know how to run the NACP Youth Council, you know how to open doors. That's your night, Tuesday night. Come up and show us exactly what we are to do. Now, some of you have called us about the country clubs in Oklahoma City. Well, next week, when you come Tuesday, we can tell you the country clubs that are open to all people and those that you can join because segregation, even in country clubs, must go. What's happening on Wednesday?
Wednesday is the original Sit-Inners Day with Salonia Bennett.
That's someday. Is it true that you usually have a Freedom Fiesta tea and have the names of all of the original sit-inners?
Yes.
Well, that should certainly be exciting, and that's Miss Salonia Bennett, and I know she will have some surprises for us on that day. Okay, what about Thursday?
Thursday is the NAACP Youth President's Day with Christopher Fowler and Mrs. Georgia Juniper. And there will be a Freedom Fiesta party at the Days Inn South, and that's located at 2616 South I-35.
Okay, now that should be exciting. A Freedom Fiesta party?
Yes.
Who's invited?
Everyone is invited. All you have to do is contact one of the members of the NAACP Youth Council for your invitation. And there's only a small price to get in, $3.50 per single and $6 per couple.
What's going to happen on Friday? And Shelley, I know you would like to tell me, but here she is in person. What will happen on Friday, and whose day is Friday?
Friday, that is the great day that most women are waiting to see. That's the fabulous fashion show and the coronation of the Fiesta Queen and King. That's on Friday, and it will begin at 7 o'clock. And I'm going to say so at 50th and Santa Fe. But you may know it best as saying the Union Building. Now, at this fashion show is something that you have not been able and privileged to see. We have a young lady that's in Shawnee, Oklahoma, Mrs. Nash, that I talked with. And Mrs. Nash is bringing her own models, and they're modeling some of the most outstanding garments that you have seen in Oklahoma City. You have not seen these in Oklahoma City, because she told me that these garments, they will be silk dresses as well as wool and other kinds of fabrics, but especially the silk dresses is coming to her out of Paris, France. So I know you want to come and see those dresses that she is going to be modeling. That's coming from Paris, France. Then she have other dresses that's coming out of Florida and out of Los Angeles, California, and San Francisco, California. Now we will be having our usual group, our NAAC peers. They will be there, and they will be giving us some entertaining numbers. Mrs. Nash also said that she was bringing a special entertaining number other than the models that she's bringing. So now if you think our NAAC peers do not have something to share with us and something for you to see, you need to come out on Friday, which is the 17th, and the address is 5408 North Santa Fe. And that is at 50th and Santa Fe, 5408. So when you go out 50 and you get to Santa Fe, you make a sharp right and continue north. Do not go onto the expressway. Keep the road to your right. And you just bear to the right instead of bearing to the left. That takes you on to the freeway. So the address is 5408 North Santa Fe. The date, did you get that down? The date is the 17th. When is the 17th? That's Friday. What Friday? Next Friday, the coming Friday. So do not miss this fantastic performance on the 17th.
All right, I understand that it's at 5408 North Santa Fe in the CWA Union Building. Is that correct to Mrs. Hunter?
That is right. That is the Union Building, and the time is 7 o'clock.
Some of you wanted to know why is it that we have the names of these dates. What we did, we went back to the NAACP Youth Council's history and named these dates. Lady Ruth Hunter, Nancy Davis are carrying on. Although Lillian Oliver sleeps now in yonder cemetery, her memory still remains because of the fact that she loved the NAACP Youth Council, and she, Lady Ruth Hunter, and Nancy Davis got together some 32 years ago and decided that we would have a fashion show, and this is what we're going to have. Now I want everybody to talk about Saturday. Let's talk about Saturday. Or next Saturday, let's talk about that, Shelley.
Next Saturday is Clara Luper's Day, and on that day there will be the annual Freedom Fiesta Parade at 10 a.m. Not 11, not 12, but 10 a.m. And the parade will start at Pitts Park, go west to Lottie. From Lottie, they will go to Northeast 23rd, and from 23rd to the Freedom Center located at 2609 North Martin Luther King. And there will also be an all-day carnival, which will be held at the Freedom Center. And that evening, there will be the 32nd annual Clara Luper's Dinner at 6 p.m. at the First AME Church, 3309 Northeast Kelly Avenue. And the guest speaker will be Mrs. Mary Mulder.
Clara Luper's Day, the day of the big parade. And ladies come to tell us about the parade because we are inviting everybody to the big parade. If you have something that you need to show, and that is your beautiful face or your handsome face, be ready for the parade. How many bicycles do we want in this parade, lady?
How many? We don't count numbers, Mrs. Luper. We just want bicycles. So that's a big number. We just want bicycles.
How about
Alicia, you
motorcycles?
can ride yours if you want to, because what we want is bicycles, and motorcycles is the same. Now, all you fellas with these motorcycles, come on out, because one day I was driving in Oklahoma City and I saw so many motorcycles. It was unbelievable. I said, do you mean to tell me we have these many black people owning motorcycles here in Oklahoma City? So now I know we can get a good number of you out to be in the parade on your motorcycle. Do they call them that, or do they call them Hondas? We may be calling them by the wrong name, Mrs. Luper.
Well, one thing about it, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, and we didn't have to worry about motorcycles when I was growing up because we didn't have any motorcycles in
And we didn't have
Hoffman,
any
Oklahoma.
bicycles either in Stroud.
Oh, well, we had a bicycle. We didn't make our own bicycles. But in the meantime, we want some different kind of automobiles. Now, let's see. We should have a section where we will have those beautiful General Motors cars.
Why, that's true. Mrs. Luper, you know, I thought they had stopped making convertibles. And somebody said, toot, toot, and I looked around, and here go a fantastic convertible going right, the same kind of car that I was driving, but it wasn't convertible. So I know this young man's going to put his convertible car in the parade.
Well, those of you with convertibles, those of you with Chryslers, those Fords, all kinds, we would like for you to call us at 478-2103 because we want to know which cars are the most popular cars. That's on Saturday, that Clara Luper's Day. And Clara Luper's name will be used to symbolize all that have participated in the sit-in movement. Now you ask, how did you participate? How did you participate? You either marched, you either prayed, you either led songs, you made telephone calls, you provided food and money. Whatever you did, we want you to participate because we want to have this as a great parade.
Now, Mr. Luper, we're talking about this parade. Where is this parade going to start? Where are we going to meet?
Shelley will tell you that exactly where this parade will start.
In case you missed it the first time, the parade starts at Pitts Park. And from Pitts Park, it will go west to Lottie, Lottie to Northeast 23rd, and 23rd to the Freedom Center at 2609 North Martin Luther King.
I know we'll be well represented with sororities, fraternities, Masonic groups, because these are the people that's throwing these big parties in hotels and motels that were open as a result of the sit-in movement. Do you think that all of the sororities and fraternities will be here, Mrs. Hunter?
Well, sure, I believe that. Because I'm a positive thinker, Mrs. Luper, positive.
Well, I'll ask you, you all in blue and white, and I understand you've been to the Zetas meeting. Will the Zetas be in the parade?
I'm still on that positive side. I feel the Zetas will be in the parade if that Zeta happens to be me.
Okay, how about the AKAs, the Deltas? And I know Dr. Dale Smith is going to call me and let me know about the Sigma Gamma Rho.
Why, sure she is. And I'm sure the other fraternities are going to join us in this parade.
One thing I like about a parade, now I'm going to tell all these Masonic groups that I see them in other parades and I want to see them in this parade. They really look good. These Masonic groups, Alarath, Temple, and all those groups are really out of sight.
They really are out of sight, Mrs. Luper, and they usually give you a show. I don't know when they do all of that practicing that they do, but I would be really afraid to do some of those little stunts that I see them out there doing. But now, if you haven't seen them do these stunts, you need to come out and watch them. And they're not young people, please believe me. But they're out there in those trick cars, I guess that's what you call them, and they are really giving us a show. And sometimes they're throwing you some candy, so little children, come on out. You can get you some candy also.
What I like about the parade is really the horses. I never shall forget. When I was in Hoffman, Oklahoma, my dad, Mr. Honorable Ezel Shepherd, bought a horse. That was the prettiest horse we ever wanted to see. He just had one problem. He was blind. But that was our horse, and my daddy told those people down in Hoffman, I bought this blind horse because I wanted a blind horse. Well, all of you with horses, whether they are blind or not, come on down and participate in the parade. Well, we're going to get some calls, 478-2103. Now let's talk about the 32nd annual Clara Luper's dinner, which will take place where, lady?
That will take place, Mrs. Luper. First, let me say it like this. That's going to be at my church. So I know that's 3301 North Cali. Now, you want to know exactly where it is. Now, all of you know where Northeast High School. Everybody know where Northeast High School is. So it's just right down the north of the Northeast High School at the end of the first block, north, and make a left turn, and you're right there at the church. And you can't help but see this church because it's up there on the hill. So go right on down there and turn and come on up to First AME to this wonderful dinner that Clara is having. And I know you go down to buy Tom's fish, so when you look to your left, when you go there at Tom's, you're looking right in my church door. Oh, Bob's fish. Wrong name. Bob's Fish. Thanks, Shelley. Got the wrong man's name. But Bob's Fish. Now, when you go down there to buy Bob's Fish, and when you walk out of the front door of Bob's Fish, you're looking into our front door of our church. So now that's the church where you're going to have this wonderful dinner. And I'm going to be looking for you there on the 18th.
It's going to be a wonderful dinner. Some of you have called me and say, Clara, I think you expect too much. I do expect something out of you besides talk. Because I see you all the time and you say, Clara, I appreciate what you're doing. You went out to the Veterans Hospital. You stood in front of the director who's head of the affirmative action and told him that he was discriminating according to the information you had against people. And now I'm going back next week to the Veterans Hospital because it's a tragedy that people don't know what's going on within their own businesses. We are coming back to Veterans Hospital. Here we come. I just received some sad news. I had invited both candidates to come here today in what was known as a great debate between Foster and Munson. But here I have a note in my hand that I've just received. It states, and I would like to read, let me tell you what I've done for both candidates, because I wanted you, the public, to know about the candidates. I think that's fair. I don't ever want to be caught without the proper information. I invited both candidates to come here today. I was donating to both candidates time where they could explain to you, the most intelligent people in Oklahoma City, exactly what they were doing, why they were running, and what they expected. I talked to Mr. Wright at the Foster headquarters. I explained to him in detail exactly what I wanted, and he said we are going to make it. I talked to the honorable candidate down to City Hall when I saw one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen in my life was when the honorable Attorney Lonian was sworn in as a judge. And there I re-invited and re-emphasized to Mrs. Foster that I wanted her here on my radio. I went to Mrs. Munson's office and I said to Miss Munson, I would like to invite you to come here because I think the people need to hear it directly from you. Miss Munson is here, but here's a sad story. Rosie isn't going to make it. She's in the process of walking neighborhoods, and she can't and she won't change her schedule. Letty, I've done the best that I can. Why did we fail? Why is it Mrs. Foster will not be on the Clara Luper radio show?
Now, you know, that's a $64,000 question. I cannot answer that. Our business is to extend to them the privilege, and it's their business to accept or reject. And if she has rejected it, Mrs. Luper, we'll have to go according to the telephone call that was just called in a few seconds ago.
But it seems to me that if a person, certainly when I ran for the Honorable United States Senator, I would go wherever people invited me. Somebody would invite me to talk to all of the fabulous voters that I'm talking to. And you remember because you went along with me.
Not only that, I was there at dinners that you would have appointment for dinners, and we'd get there, and everybody would be there at that dinner waiting for the candidate to come in, and you would always show. And you were in little places, big places, small places, large places. I've never been in and out so many places in all my life as when you were running, Mrs. Luper. And I think this is what any candidate should do.
I think
it doesn't matter about the size of the place. I think if you were invited there, you should be there. And I feel this is why, you didn't do a lot of extensive traveling, but for the number of votes that you received, it really told the community something, that you had made many, many trips. When you were asked to come, you were there.
I wanted to, and certainly I would like to say this to all candidates and to all people. If you're invited to be on a program and you find out that you cannot come, I don't think it's fair to our radio audience for you to call us. And incidentally, I received this call at exactly 2:15 that she would not be here. And I think Mrs. Rosie Foster owed me an apology. Not so much Clara Luper, but to those of you that are sitting out in Radio Land waiting for this great debate, the great debate between Foster and Munson. Well, if we, one thing about it, I can say this, and I hate to say this, we will be listening very carefully, and if somebody appears on another program that's not sponsored by a person of this delicate chocolate blackberry color like me, I'm going to holler prejudice, prejudice. Oh, well.
Or maybe discrimination.
Yes, prejudice and discrimination. I believe it was because you out here, Miss Hunter, that she wouldn't come. It's because if you always stirring up something. You're something else. I saw you out to the banking commissioner's office. I've seen you operate, and maybe Miss Foster didn't want to answer your questions because when you asked Wayne Osmond some questions, he turned as red as a beet.
Yeah, not only that, he would take his eyeglasses off, Mrs. Luper, wipe his eyes, put his eyeglasses back on, and look at me and not answer the question. I never was able to figure it out.
Well, I sure figured it out. Mr. Osmond didn't want any of your questions. And when we went to the Veterans Hospital, that was really something. Mr. Gently, is his name Gently or Gentley?
I think it's kind of Gentley, isn't it, Mrs. Luper?
Well, he told us that he didn't have no complaints. Everything was fine out there. And I looked at in my little briefcase, and I found like 40 complaints, and I couldn't believe it. And they asked me to give them my complaints, and I said no, but I've heard something that's quite interesting that's happening out to the hospital.
Well, I don't know what's happening, but Ms. Luper, let me address this. We were asking, do you have any complaints? No, nobody has given me any complaints. And I thought I was out there because he was the head of this particular department that we were talking about. And then he said, because we have agencies and we have steps and that they are supposed to turn their grievances into. We said, what are they? Well, he said the equal opportunities and then some other plan that you could turn your grievances into. And we said, well, they haven't turned their grievances in. To find out, the man we were talking with, not only was he over that department, he was also president of the organization that he was telling us that the people should turn their grievances into. And some of the point was, we can't let the man who is head of the department know what we have to say. But if you turn your complaint in, it had to go to that man, because that man was holding both positions. And he never told us that in that office. And I wondered why. So, no, he didn't get any grievances.
Well, Letty, what happened, he told us we did not turn over the complaints that we had in their original language.
That's true.
However, we outlined those complaints and took them out to the Veterans Hospital. And if I can remember correctly, he told us that he would work on them and let us know, right?
Oh, yes, he said he was going to work on them and let us know. But if I had known, Mrs. Luper, that he was the president of one of the organizations that he was telling us that the grievances should have been given to, if I had known he was that president, then my conversation would have been altogether different.
Well, one thing I know that's going to happen. Now, he has ignored us this week. Is that correct?
Well, that's right. He hasn't said one thing, but, he told you my door stands open. But he left.
What did you say when he told us that his door was always open?
Because the door was open when we got there, but we could not go in until we made an appointment and the secretary came after us. This is why she came and got us to take us in there. So this is why I asked him, now you explain your statement, your door stands open. Because it was open when we got there, but we were not privileged to just walk into that door.
I've just gotten an idea. Since Mrs. Foster is walking her district, those people have telephones. I would like for her to call me and tell you, my intelligent radio audience, what she wants from them. I'm going to tell, and when Miss Foster knocks on your door, be sure and ask her if she will call me. My telephone number is 478-2103. Do you think she will call and tell us why? I hate to mislead my radio audience because I told them that Mrs. Foster would be here because Mrs. Foster and Mr. Wright told me they were coming. And this is a dangerous time to disappoint me because it's time for the Dungy family reunion, all school reunion. They have come into Oklahoma from all over this nation and even as far away as Saipan. They are here, And then many of them live in the green pastures area. They are now sitting by their radios out in the park where they are having their picnic. Last night was a big night. It was a big banquet. Shirley Darrell, that outstanding Zeta, was speaking last night, and she spoke out of her heart. She said she was angry. She said she was tired of a lot of things that was happening in the black community. She said that we were moving backward in place of forward. She told us about a judge downtown who spoke down to black people. She was angry, she said, about what was going on. Well, in the meantime, I'm not angry today because I'm used to discrimination, Miss Foster. I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, and we couldn't even try on shoes in Henrietta, Oklahoma. So I'm used to it. How about you, lady?
But sure, that didn't only happen down there where you came from, because I was right here in Great Big Oklahoma City. And we couldn't try on hats, and we couldn't try on dresses, and we couldn't go to the restroom. We had one restroom that you could go to downtown, and that was at the bus station.
But it's very difficult for me to get adjusted to black folks discriminating against me. I really feel like I have been discriminated against, and I hate for black folks to discriminate against me. But I know enough black history to know that when Frederick Douglass got ready to escape from slavery, he told some of the slaves on the plantation, and they went and told the master, and the master caught him, and the master whipped him. And at that moment, Frederick Douglass said, "Never again will I take another whipping." Well, if black people are discriminating against the Clara Luper radio show, I would like to call upon you to discriminate against them, because after all, I'm just like you. I'm black as a blackberry, and don't you forget it. And whenever you say to me, "Clara, I'm going to do something," and you don't do it, I'll be disappointed. Let me get back to my dinner. I ask you, and you said I'm asking too much. I ask you for some chickens, and so far I've gotten chickens. I don't need but 6 more chickens. I've gotten green beans, and I don't need but 2 more cans of green beans. I was counting, I have about 14 head of lettuce. Maybe I need 3 more heads. Gladys Elliott from Hoffman, Oklahoma, who I know is excited now if somebody discriminating against her classmate. And Gladys, we got to get ready to have us a class reunion. It's just 5 of us. Won't take too long to make our plans. Well, Gladys told me she's going to bake me one of them good old cakes, and then she's going to bake a cobbler, and I could go on down the line. But I want you to do something, because I know you. When I die, you'll be bringing flowers and crying and writing resolution. I resolve to remember Clara Luper. Well, you better resolve to get me some lettuce and some chickens and things in order that we can pave Freedom Center and build a monument to those courageous blacks and whites that have fought and died for freedom. Now let's talk about what's going to happen Sunday. Let's talk about Sunday, and I never shall forget the man that came up with that idea of the Sunday worship service, and who was he?
Okay, on Sunday, Mrs. Luper, I understand we're going to be looking at the services at the church, New Hope Church, and then this will be Doc Williams' Day. You know, Doc Williams was quite a religious fella. Doc Williams was a good fella, Mrs. Luper. You know, when we were having the sit-ins and the stand-ins and the walk-ins, it didn't matter who went to jail. Doc Williams had a briefcase. He'd always be carrying his briefcase around because he said he knew every week he's going to have to go down there and get somebody out of jail. And he didn't mind, and he was right there with the marches at all times. So since Sunday is going to be Doc Williams' Day, because of all of the good things that Doc Williams did during the sit-in movement. And this will be on Sunday, and we call that Doc Williams' Day. The Freedom Fiesta worship service is going to be at New Hope Baptist Church.
Lady, when And as I said goodbye this week to Leon Forte and to Nicole Mitchell as they went to Arkansas to a youth leadership training course to represent the NACP, I knew Doc would be pleased. But do you remember that night that Doc started talking and didn't stop talking, and the kids listened to him? And who would have known that in 3 days Doc Williams would have been dead? He asked me to do something for him. You remember that?
Yes, he did, Mrs. Luper.
He wanted me to bring his body up to Freedom Center and let the kids stand guard over his body, and this is what I did.
For a day.
Although Doc Williams sleeps now, he will be remembered Sunday, August the 19th, the day the sit-in started at the New Hope Baptist Church, 1232 Northeast 7th Street, and that's at 4 o'clock. And you are invited to attend. And who will be the speaker then? Letty?
We will be having the Reverend Jerry D. Lewis. Is going to be our guest speaker. Reverend Jerry D. Lewis will be our speaker. And, you know, each year, Mrs. Luper, I go and I said, well, last year we had a wonderful. And then we go to the next meeting and I said, boy, this was better than last year. So you are really missing a treat when you do not come out on Sunday afternoon at 4:00 p.m. and hear the Reverend Jerry D. Lewis, who will be the guest speaker at the New Hope Baptist Church.
Let's look into his qualifications. Letty, he received a BA degree from where?
Oh, from the Bishop College.
And he has an MA degree from where?
From Virginia University, the School of Technology.
He's a former pastor of what
The
church?
Macedonia Baptist Church in Hendersonville, Virginia. I don't know where
He
that
was
is.
a first vice president of what district
The
association?
Northern Neck Baptist Association.
And that's in Virginia. In 1989, he was president of what organization?
Of the Northumberland County Branch, 1989, and these names must be Virginia names.
And that was of the NACP.
The NAACP.
I've been informed that he's been honored as one of the outstanding young men of America in what two
In the
consecutive
years of 1986 through 1987.
But in 1971, a great honor came to him as he graduated from what?
The U.S. Army Quarters Master School.
He has had the experience of coordinating what kind of programs?
Youth activities, and this is why I'm saying you must come out and hear the young man, because he is interested in youth. He was coordinator of the youth activities in several churches, not only his church. They said several. So it was his church and many other churches.
Let's go back and talk about Mrs. Mary Mulder, your co-worker in the great field of education. She received her BA degree from where?
From Columbia University, University of Kansas.
Where did she receive her MA degree from?
Columbia University.
She is a retired principal from what school?
From the Truman Elementary School, and also the Truman Elementary School happens to be a retired school, but that was a wonderful school, and it stands today as a monument. Each time I go by and look at that school, I want to think about Mrs. Molan.
She's a life member of the National what?
The National Elementary Schools Principals Association.
She's not new to NACP. She's a life member of NACP, but she's a
And
longtime supporter of what?
She not only a member of NAACP, but she's a lifetime supporter of the Oklahoma City's NAACP Youth Council.
It's not every day that you have the opportunity to speak to a founder of a chapter of the AKA sorority. She was a founder of what chapter?
Of the Beta Sigma Omega chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and I'm sorry I couldn't say Zeta Phi Beta.
Well, anyway, she is a life member of what sorority?
The AKA sorority.
And when we read who's who in American education, whose name do we find?
We're going to find Mrs. Mary Molam. Because she was the former director of the Christian Educational Sunday School Superintendent and president of the Stewardess Board number 1.
Nice.
That's my great Miss Mary Mulder.
She will be speaking Saturday at that Clara Luper's dinner at 6 p.m., that dinner that you will donate food for, and that dinner that you will pay $20 to eat. What a treat. But then next week, you will see, after the Freedom Fiesta, you will see Freedom Center paved. You will see a monument that will be going up with many of your pictures on it. But in the meantime, as I listened to Shirley talking about a judge, I thought about a man that I know in Logan County that's running for a judge. His name is Gar Graham. Gar Graham, who is dedicated to justice, equality. In fact, when many people think of Gar Graham that has overcome many obstacles, they think about someone that has allowed justice to roll down. Someone that has represented people with money and without money. Someone that understands the problems and the inequalities in the justice system. Gar Graham is running for judge in Logan County. Now, many of you have called me and you have told me how you've been mistreated in the courtroom. You have told me what has happened to you. You have told me about the different kinds of sentences that were given to some people because of their race and because of their financial conditions. Well, you can do something about that. because you can go to the polls and you can say, I know about God Graham. I know about him. I know about him. Now that's God Graham, who's running for judge in Logan County. And I understand that you are running to support him. You had better support somebody that's going to be fair to you in the courtroom. Do you realize that the biggest building program in this country now is the jails? Everybody's building jails, and I would like for my people to say, jails will not be built for me because I'm not going to steal, I'm not going to kill, and I know that drugs represent a new kind of slavery, and I'm not going to be caught. But in the meantime, we've got to have justice, and we've got to elect judges that believe in justice. I know a lot of black people that's running around talking about Steve Lewis, Walton, and all the other people that's running for governor. But let me tell you something, and you asking me, Clara, where do you stand in the governor's race? Well, I'll have to ask some questions before I make a decision on where I stand. Question number one, how many of you will appoint a black to the state Supreme Court in the state of Oklahoma? Do you realize that we are practically the only state in the union that does not have a black state judge? And some of you have carried governor, you carried Belmore, and name all of them, and you haven't gotten one state judge. You asked me about Boren. How many black people have Boren recommended for a federal judgeship in the state of Oklahoma? He submits the name to the president, and then the president decides. If you want to ask me who I'm going to support for a judge, I'm going to ask you who's going to work to put some toilets on the turnpike. Who's going to work to see to it? And I don't need to be studied anymore. I've been studied enough. Every time you look around, somebody got a new proposal to study black folks. I don't want to be studied no more. President Bush didn't study the people in the Persian Gulf. He didn't study them. He sent their troops over there, and we need some troops. And speaking of troops, we need some troops. As I look at the clock on the wall, it's time now for the great debate, the debate between Munson and Foster. Now, since Mrs. Foster is not here, I would like to leave my telephone number, 478-2103, because I want you to hear from Miss Foster. Now, if you don't hear her saying something, you know she's not here, you know she's not near a telephone, and you know she has ignored your favorite reporter.
Now, Mrs. Luper, I don't want them to have an excuse out there, because those homes that she's visiting, the people may be elderly people like me. And that number that you gave it so fast, when I got to 478, I didn't get those other four numbers. Now, you're telling those numbers too fast. Now, I want you to go over them slowly now. All right, ladies out there, do you have your pencils and paper? Here it is.
478 2103.
03.
That's KBYE.
It's KBYE. So call out. And when she comes by, you tell her this is the number, and she can call out on the phone, and we'll be able to talk with her.
Now, what I'm going to do, we all will have the opportunity to question this candidate. She's out here by herself. Munson sitting here, ready to go, ready to debate without a debate partner. I wonder how would Abraham Lincoln felt if Mr. Douglas didn't show up in that Lincoln-Douglas debate. But anyway, Shelley, Alicia, Letty, she's all yours, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to give her exactly 2 minutes to talk to you out in radio. I want you to tell them who you are, why you are running, and I'm going to sit here and wait, giving Miss Foster 2 minutes, and then we're going to start asking you questions.
Thank you, Miss Luper. My name is Angela Munson. I'm from Oklahoma City. Many of your listeners no doubt know me, know my mom, E. Prine Munson, know my father, Herman Munson Sr., or my grandfather, Reverend A.D. Provo, or Reverend J.D. Provo. You guys are going to New Hope. I'll be there. That was my great-grandfather's church. Miss Luper, you asked why I'm running. I want to be of service. Want to make a difference in the lives of people in House District 99? Want to make a difference in the lives of our children, in the lives of the senior citizens. I was over at McGuire today visiting some folk, people who are in those apartments with no help, needing someone to come by and see about them. And I think it's important, Miss Luper, that our government realize that we have people with real human problems. And we need somebody at the state capitol who's going to stand up and say, well, it's not bridges and it's not roads that are just important in Oklahoma. It's the people in Oklahoma that we must invest invest in. And we have an agenda that we want to take to that Capitol. We have people that we represent. We want to take those issues to the Capitol. And we want to make sure we're there to hear from the people and inform the people in House District 99 and ask them to provide some input, to ask them to be involved in the kinds of things that we're concerned about. So, Ms. Luper, I'm running because I want to be of service. I've committed my life to help people in this district. I want to make a difference in people's lives. We talk about prisons. We don't need more prisons. We need jobs. We talk about people who are struggling. We need health care as a basic human right to be provided to our people in District 99. We need quality education that prepares our young people to not just read and write, but prepares them to compete in today's society, to do those kinds of things that they're going to need to do to make a living, to make a contribution. So, Ms. Luper, I want to be here to be of service. That's why I'm running. I'm running to win.
Okay, now it's time for questions. You can question this candidate.
You know, I had my question all ready for you, and then you hit the nail on the head when you said education, because I'm really out for education. And I'm wondering how far up on your calendar are you going to put this educational issue? Now, I don't want you to go in there and you say, well, now, Mrs. Hunter, I have it on there, but I can't get to it because, why, it's the last thing on your list. And I just really want to know, because I'm concerned about the number of kids that failed this year, Ms. Munson. Do you know, let me tell you what I read in that paper. Did you know that 1,149 more kids failed this year than failed last year? 2,000 failed last year. So that makes a total of 3,149 kids that they tell me in the paper failed in school this year. Now, I want that kind of issue way up on your list. Now, had you given that into consideration, and you can tell me your thinkings on this question.
That's right, Ms. Hunter. Education is very high up on my list of priorities. When you think about what we're entrusting to our school systems, we have children who are there who are learning. They're learning not only, again, how to read and write, but they're learning some of the basic philosophies of life. They're learning how to deal with people. They're learning how to address problems when they come about. We need to teach our kids, yes, to read and write. We need to teach our kids, too, to think, to make choices. And that's not just the school system's responsibility, but education extends to our communities, into our homes. And we need to create the kinds of environments that will allow children to learn, to want to go to school. It requires a financial investment, but it also requires a personal commitment on the part of teachers, on the part of school administrators, on the part of patrons in school districts. It's a major priority. When we invest in our children, we do make an investment in our future.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our next question comes from Alicia Hildred.
Hello, I'm Alicia Hildred, and I would like to know, what about unemployment in your district number 99?
You know, it's unfortunate that we have such a high unemployment rate in House District 99 when we read about state figures and unemployment rates going down in the state of Oklahoma. Well, they're not going down in House District 99. In fact, they're going up. We've got to create jobs. And you ask me, Angela, how do we create jobs? Well, we make investments in our businesses. We allow money to be freed up in these financial institutions that operate right here in House District 99, right in our communities. And our business owners can't get loans. They can't get loans to expand. They can't hire new people. We have to free up money so that people who want to start new businesses can do that. You know, I hear our business owners talking about bonding. Our construction people saying they want contracts, but they can't get a bond for $1 million contract. The state of Oklahoma has to do something to allow our businesses to grow and expand. And it's through those businesses, Alicia, that we can create jobs. And the more jobs that we have, the more taxpayers we have. The more taxpayers we have, the more taxes that are collected. And we can reinvest those tax dollars back into our community.
Okay, here's another question.
Hi, my name's Cookie Hill. What about crime in your district number 99?
You know, Ms. Luper, last time I was here, I was talking
Okay,
about
excuse me. I want her to repeat that question because I want everybody to hear it.
What about crime in your district 99?
When we were here, we were talking about walking into a situation where we saw young people in the process of doing things. You know, I've been broken into 3 times in my house in House District 99. My car has been stolen. I'm not alone. You know, all of us, no doubt, know someone or ourselves have been victims of crime, and we've got to do something. There are people, Miss Luper, and you must know this, that are a threat to our society, and those people do have to be isolated. But when you look at our prison population and who's there, and there are a lot of people who don't need to be there, we're going to have to decide right now, what is it that we want to do? Is it rehabilitation or is it punishment? Crime goes away when we provide alternatives to people. When young people, these young people's age, are given good education and strong foundations, we don't have to worry about them choosing crime as a way of life. So we invest now. But then again, those individuals that appear to be a threat, we have to protect the folk who live in our district. We knock on doors. We don't want senior citizens to be afraid to open their doors because they're afraid there's a burglar or a mugger there. We want to protect them, and we protect them by building strong communities, by involving citizens and building programs that allow people to watch out for other neighbors. And I want to be involved in that building process. It's not just legislation that reduces crime in our communities. It's the involvement of elected officials in those communities that we see a reduction in criminal activity.
You know, I don't know if you can do anything about this, but I feel that it should be brought to the attention of our legislative bodies. And since you are running, I want to ask you, what do you feel we can do about our recreational problem? You know, I called and I talked with our Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to take a group of my children out. And I wanted to know, what activities did you have, educational activities, that I can take the children out? It won't cost me an arm and leg. But everything that we have here, I don't know if you know it, it has a price tag to it. And the thing that I felt that all little children could go to was swimming pools. And somehow we lost swimming pools. So they don't have that activity. So I'm wondering, what are you thinking about doing toward adding educational recreational activities in the community?
You know, we all know that
99.
our recreational facilities are city-operated facilities, and a lot of times I hear elected officials say, well, that's not in my field, that's a city problem, and you'll have to address that to the city. Well, you know, we have, again, as elected officials, a responsibility to address the concerns of our constituents, whether they're local concerns or state concerns. And if we think we need additional recreational facilities, let us go. Let's take a state legislator. Angela will go, and we will deal with our city officials and say, this is a priority. These are things that we need. And if our city officials say, well, it's money, we don't have the money. Let me tell you, there's something called the Oklahoma Municipal League that lobbies at the state capitol every single day. And not once, and I'm up at the state capitol regular, not once have I heard or seen them say that a problem is recreational facilities. We need to put the pressure on them. If they need state money, let them bring the issue. And we as constituents, we as citizens, take that issue and push them hard. And I want to be a leader in that process.
Speaking of being a leader, Dr. A.L. Dow is our leading optometrist in Oklahoma City. His address is 934 Northeast 8th Street. The telephone number is 235-0536. One thing about Dr. Dow, he has never let us down. And today I'm able to read because of the Dow glasses. Now, those of you that are getting your children ready for school, be sure and take them by Dr. Dow's office. Don't criticize your child and say, my child can't read, when it could be an eye problem. I'm very happy to announce today that we have a new appliance care center on the northeast segment of Oklahoma City. It is located at 1320 Northeast 23rd Street. You can go there and buy washing machines, dryers, rebuilt air conditioners, refrigerators, ranges, all at the Appliance Care Center, 1320 Northeast 23rd Street in Oklahoma City. You deserve a new tailor-made suit. That's why you should go to Sir Charles the Tailor. And you may call him at 672-5051 or go to 4725 Southeast 15th Street here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Many of you have been calling me about Behold the Wall. I have good news. I was in Chicago last week, and this summer so far I've been in Denver, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Indianapolis, the University of Texas, Dallas, and last week I was in Chicago. And I hate to tell you this, but I only have 3 books left of this is my third publishing, and my books, I will have to go back to my publishing company and tell them to get some more books ready, because it's unbelievable how many people want my book, especially when I leave Oklahoma. And today I'm having a debate. I'm making history. The first time in the history of this state have two people debated with only one showing up. And now here's a question for Munson from Shelley.
I heard a lot of comments made by you about senior citizens. Well, if you are elected, what are you going to do for senior citizens? What ideas do you have in mind to help them?
Got a couple of ones, and I hear this from senior citizens, Miss Luper, quite a bit in Shelley. I talk to senior citizens a lot about Medicare, about health problems, about medical access. And the one thing I hear most regular is, I can't afford to pay for my prescription drugs. My medicine costs too much. I either have to choose to buy the medicine or pay the electric bill. And it's unfortunate, Miss Luper, that we have a state Medicaid program that a lot of our seniors would be eligible for, that would pay for a couple of prescriptions a month at least. Many don't even know about. So we want to educate. Then we want to go beyond that. We want to develop a process, a system. We want to spend some dollars to make sure that our senior citizens, when they need their medicine, they can get their medicine. Healthcare, again, is a basic human right. And then, Ms. Luper, we want to make sure that our senior citizens can live in their own homes, can maintain their independence, can maintain their integrity. We don't want to pay for those expensive nursing home bills. You know, nursing home care is running anywhere from $1,400 to $2,500 a month. And that's a terrible expense that we don't have to pay when we can spend a few $100s a month and provide the kind of home health services, to provide the kind of chore services, the in-home health services that our seniors need, so they can maintain their independence, so that they can maintain their integrity. Those are just two of the things that we want to do, and we want to work with the seniors and let them tell us these are the problems, these are our concerns, and work with us in building a program and an agenda to address those concerns, Ms. Lupe. I want to be caring, and I am capable to do those kinds of things.
Today's program is not a paid political program. This was time that Clara Luper donated to the two candidates so that you out in Radio Land would have the opportunity to hear from these people. I would like to encourage all of you out in Radio Land, and I would like to encourage all of our politicians to support all of the media. There's a new article out on black media that I think everybody should read, and here's Letty.
No, Mrs. Luper, I wanted to just say ditto to what you were saying, and I am happy that we are privileged to talk to our candidates, and we should not only talk to these two, all the people that's running and wanting us to vote for them should also give us the same kind of opportunity. They should come in and let us talk with them, and they talk to our public, and let us ask questions. And one thing about it, I'm sure glad that you did not limit me to one question. You know, I went to a forum once, and you could only ask that candidate one question. And if you made a mistake and asked that man his name, then your question was ended. So I'm happy that we do not have that kind of forum going on here this afternoon. Now, I think you remember where we were, and we couldn't ask the candidate but one question.
Yes, and you see the mess that we're in there today. In the meantime, I would like to speak seriously to those of you out in Radio Land. Don't do any dealings behind closed doors with these candidates. Make them come out in the open to the public and tell you, because they can knock on your door and say, I'm all for you, but when it comes to speaking to the 600,000 people that I'm speaking today, they will not open their mouths. I think we need to think, and I would like to invite other political candidates. I'm really proud of Gard Graham because he's in Guthrie, Oklahoma now, where he's running for judge. And it's going to be a very difficult race because there are a lot of people that want to see justice smothered. But those of you that want to get a fair break, those of you that truly understand the problems that's facing the poor, the black, through our judicial system, I want you to call Gard Graham. And I want you to tell him that you are available to help him, to see to it that even in Logan County, a county that's been dominated by unfair court procedures, according to the people that have filed with us in NACP. Well, I would like to thank you, Ms. Munson, for being my very distinguished distinguished guest today, and I shall go forth, and I want all of you to get out today and tell everybody that Munson was here today.
Well, Miss Luper, let me say thank you to you, and I will be at Freedom Fiesta to congratulate you on a history of service, and I just want our listeners to know that I want to serve them. This is serious business. These are serious times, Miss Luper, and we need to place our votes and our confidence in people we can count on, and I'm one that will be there for the people in House District 99.
Well, certainly, I want to thank you for being my guest today, and I would like to invite all of the political candidates to ride in the parade. Are you ashamed to ride down a street that's predominantly black? And then maybe some of the black candidates were on. I would hate to go out here thinking that if I'd been white today, Miss Foster would have come out here. But I sure am not white. I'm black as a blackberry. But I'm proud. I'm black. And I'm proud. I'm so proud until I'm going to tell all of you thanks, and I would like to thank those of you in Wewoka. I will be down in Wewoka on the 25th of this month, and I would like to thank all of you for the many invitations and the opportunities that you have given me. I don't have enough time, and I don't have adequate words in my vocabulary to say thanks to all of you because you've been so kind, and I have with me my little granddaughter today from Japan, and I want to interview her for just a minute. What is your name, please?
Miyuki Hill.
Your name is what?
Miyuki Hill.
All right, tonight this is a daughter of the Honorable Attorney Joe Hill, who is practicing in Saipan and who practices in Chinese, Japanese, and English. Oh, how long have you been in the United States this week?
Several days.
Okay, now, where did you come from?
Saipan.
Saipan, and you left Saipan. Do you go to Tokyo?
Yes.
Where will you be going to school in September?
Tokyo, Japan.
In Tokyo, Japan. Are you a good student?
Yes.
You are. Do you study hard?
Yes.
How about reading? Do you read well?
Yes.
I would like for you to say hello to everybody in Japanese.
Konnichiwa.
What?
Konnichiwa.
Say it again for me.
Konnichiwa.
Now, Alicia Hildred, can you say that too? Teach Alicia Hildred how to say hello in Japanese.